like the last Fear podcast I did. First off, I should say if you want to hear my thoughts on more things, uh, on more movies in particular, follow my Letterboxd. I'll put like the follow link in the description because I don't record reviews anymore. Really, I just watch things and then I write the quick 2 sentence blurb that is always like in my head. Like I used to do this. I used to make like Instagram posts about movies I really liked and write a little blurb sometimes. Uh, Now it's just Letterboxd scratches the movie reviewer itch that I have of I don't want to write a full review. I just want to write like a paragraph or two at most and dump that out immediately after watching something. And then that's it. I'm done. Uh but TV shows on there usually. This show actually is, but that's beside the point. Today I'm reviewing The Penguin. Uh the Batman spin-off. Yeah, because most of the things I like reviewing, everything that I watch, I either have not enough thoughts to make a review on, or so many thoughts that I feel like I need to script out a review, which then turns into the review never happened because I don't have the attention span to write video scripts. It seems every time I start to write when I forget about it and like move on to a new hyperfixation after after a while, and then I don't finish the video that I was making. But anyway, Penguin review. Sorry if you can hear the vacuuming in the other part of my house. I don't know how much this mic picks up. Hopefully it's just a faint little noise. Review time. Review time. Now that I've wasted almost a minute and a half at the beginning of the video talking about other things, here is my review of The Penguin. So The Penguin is a Batman spinoff. It's a spinoff of specifically the Matt Reeves The Batman movie from 2022, which if you'll remember, I reviewed it. I think I reviewed it with Kirk at the time. Was it 2022 or 2021? I think it was very early 2022, if I'm remembering correctly. Because it was before I moved to where I currently am. This isn't a review. This is just me like yapping. Go. Talk about the movie. The show. The Penguin. It stars Colin Farrell, unrecognizably transformed by makeup and prosthetics into the Batman villain, the Penguin. He was in the Batman for a little bit. He was in the movie The Batman, and now he's in this show. And it continues this show continues this trend of DC is now 2 for 2 on making incredible TV show spin-offs of their big tentpole movies. First we had Peacemaker, which was better than anyone could have expected, from a show about one random character in James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie who was basically an unheard of character before that point. And I made a review of Peacemaker. People who know me know that show, I love that show. Do you really want to taste it? Me and all my friends, all the homies, we all love Peacemaker. But The Penguin is, dare I say, even better. It's also a completely different kind of show. Peacemaker is comedy, is a very comedic show, first and foremost. It almost feels like a game of D&D. Like a role-playing game with just like weird zany characters. It's very James Gunn. It's quintessentially James Gunn. The Penguin is like a crime mob show set in Gotham, essentially. Batman is barely mentioned. There's not really a lot of fantastical superhero stuff. It's just like it's the Sopranos is the most common comparison. I haven't seen The Sopranos, so I'm gonna avoid making that comparison. But it's a crime mob boss show set in the world of Gotham. If I were to compare it to something in a superhero genre, I'd say it's most similar to like the Netflix Marvel shows. Dark, gritty, not. It's comparable to those shows, but I think it's better than any of those shows because unlike my problem with those shows, I promise this whole review isn't just going to be me comparing this to other shows. But my problem with those shows is that they, after a while, started to feel dark and gritty for the sake of it. Like, I feel like the character writing wasn't that strong after a while, and it was kind of just like, things need to happen, so things are going to happen. The Penguin doesn't feel like that. Even though a lot of things happen and it's very fast paced, it is so character driven, both by the main character, Oz Cobb, uh, uh, the Penguin himself, and also by the other characters that are introduced. His, right hand man, Victor, and especially the rival crime mob boss lady, Sophia Falcone, who I don't even want to spoil what her plot line is, but suffice it to say that this show has created not just one but two all-time great Batman villains with both Oswald and her. They both are like they both are up there with like Heath Ledger Joker, or I'm struggling to think of another iconic movie Batman villain. But they're up there. They're up there with him. Uh, and the show is is dark and gritty and grounded, but still like has fun with its setting of Gotham. I think that's something that's a little missing from those Marvel Netflix shows. Is they're very similar. They're they're ground level, very grounded shows that just make odd reference to the more heightened movies. But what the Penguin does is I feel like it really makes Gotham feel like such an alive setting in a way I haven't seen. Like taking the focus off of Batman and putting it onto these other characters who are living in that world does such wonders. It the only Batman media I can think of that is comparable is like the show Gotham, but I watched an episode or two of that. That show's very that show is not the same one. That show's much more like C. I don't want to say CWE, but I'm doing it again. The whole review is just me comparing this to other things. I feel like it's hard to talk about this show without like comparing it to other things though, because it's really a show you kind of just have to like you hear about it and you think, okay, another one of these like superhero spin-off TV shows that no one asked for. What makes this unique? What makes this show special? And it's hard to really say what makes it unique because there's not. It's one of those things where nothing in it itself is all that unique, but it combines the best elements of so many other things. It has the the awesome sort of heightened but still very sort of like on the ground setting of Gotham. It has the mob crime family elements of something like Sopranos. It has the character descending into villainy of Breaking Bad. And the Penguin, I really appreciate this. He's got to be one of the most hateable. Like, by the end of that season, you're ready. The memes going around are, I hope to see Batman beat the heck out of him when the next Batman movie comes out. And it's real. It's like, the Penguin, honestly, they do it really well where those other two characters I mentioned, Sophia and Victor, his right-hand man, are sort of like, they're the characters you end up sort of rooting for, which allowed them to really make Oz, like, deeply, not just flawed, but bad. There's this tendency of these villain anti-hero shows to make the character really deeply flawed, but still there's a good something there. And maybe there's a good something there in Oz, but the show sure doesn't end with him embracing that or even like tapping into it at all. The show ends with him. You know what? I really don't want to spoil it. And it's weird because it's hard to just recommend and describe just how good it is without spoiling it. It's just so like perfectly paced. All of the characters and factions that are working for and against and with each other. There's never a moment where I felt like someone did something out of character, or like there were shocking decisions, but they weren't shocking for the sake of being shocking. They weren't shocking because the character did something out of character. They were like, everything felt like I could really follow where it was going to go, and I genuinely have no issues with it. It's hard to review something you genuinely have no issues with. And I think that's part of why I don't make as many reviews as I used to, is it'll either be things that I, have a couple opinions on, but was kind of just mixed, and so I just write a quick letterboxd review and then move on. Or something is so good that I feel the need to like like if I'm gonna review it, I'm gonna dissect it. And you know what? You want me to dissect the Penguin? I'll dissect the Penguin. Spoiler talk now. I'm just gonna talk about spoilers, because it's hard to talk about 10 out of 10 media without talking in detail about what makes it so good. Uh, so yeah, spoiler time. Spoiler time. Oh my God, Sofia Gigante. Falcone become Gigante, and she is very cool. It's so her character. So for one thing, her backstory is so genuinely tragic. Like I was like, I don't want to say choked up, but I was the fourth episode where they really dive into her backstory. You're like shocked. Like they really do a good job of putting you in her shoes, and it just feels so shocking that all of this is happening to her. And they never lose that either. Like the rest of the story for her character is not her like losing her humanity or accepting her or embracing evil. Like she even all the way up to the last episode, she has these moments where she can be like a cold, ruthless mafioso boss one moment, and then the next moment she realizes she's like becoming exactly what her father was. Like that scene, the scene with her and the girl in the hospital. I'm not gonna over describe. I'm gonna be vague. So if you're still watching this, and vague spoilers. The scene with her with the girl in the not the hospital, the like orphanage, basically, I think. Where she realizes that she's essentially done the same thing to this little girl that her family did to her, and she like changes tactics from manipulate to like this weird sort of honesty is so that was such an unexpected, but so again, these moments that are unexpected and surprising based on the tropes of what you've seen with these kinds of stories, but so in character for these specific people as they're formed. And there's a lot of that throughout the show. Oz sort of has the opposite, where because he's the focal point character of most of the show, there's a lot of moments where you expect him to show some humanity and like change tactics and loose and like let go of that persona a bit, and then he just doesn't, and you're left with this, oh, especially in the last episode, you're like, oh, okay, no, this guy's actually like evil. Like, okay, like I was giving him the benefit of the doubt because he's the protagonist and focal point character of this story, but no, this guy's evil. uh and they use Sophia and him so well to where they're both villains, they're both like bad guys, but every time you expect her to be worse, she turns around and is a little better, and every time you expect him to be better, he's a little worse, and so it keeps you on your toes but doesn't sacrifice the development of these characters to do so, and in fact really does a great job like interweaving that development. And when Oz kills, major spoilers, leave now, when Oz kills Victor, man, I feel like we all had an idea it was going to happen, but I reached the point where it's like, okay, it's not gonna happen, and then he said your family, and Oz just goes fuck or whatever, and it's like, that was the fuck of that was the vocal tone of I'm gonna have to kill you now. He kills him and he sacrifices his humanity. It sounds very cliche when I'm describing it, but it's it's a testament to how, like, even story beats or, things you've seen, ideas you've seen before can still land just as well if they're executed so perfectly. And this show is just executed perfectly at every conceivable angle. Like I said, I cannot think of like a flaw. Like maybe I could find some nitpicks if I really went in and looked for them. Probably, yeah. But it's a 10 out of 10. I know it's a 10 out of 10 when I genuinely cannot think of a single issue I had with it. The pacing's perfect. The character writing's perfect. The tone is a perfect balance of like, the Penguin is sort of an inherently silly character, and they don't like take away that silliness of him. They don't like take away that. They're not ashamed of the silliness and the pulpiness of a setting like Gotham. They know they use it amidst everything, and so like mixing this like crime show element with Gotham is just something that I want to see more. I need to see more. The Matt Reeves Batman universe is on such a good run with the Batman and with this show. I'm so excited for whatever they do with it in the future. And Sophia's gonna team up with Catwoman. I need to see them fight. Like it there's some things in there that cue into the like fanboying, but never at the expense, again, never at the expense of character and world building and all of that good juicy stuff. So yeah, if you liked the Batman, watch the Penguin right now. I'm looking at you, people in my friend group who are bad at watching TV shows and don't watch TV shows. Just put on an episode. Just put on the first episode. It's gas. You will lock in. You will lock in. And you will watch the Penguin. That's right, the viewer. Watch the Penguin. It's so good. It's peak. It's peak. Oh my god. Oh, it's so good. That's the review. I'm trying to think of more like complex thoughts I have about it. I guess the relationship between Oz and his mom is so interesting. That's another thing I didn't really touch on. I just think that whole dynamic between them is so, again, sort of an idea we've seen before of like the hardened criminal has the weakness spot, and that weakness spot is his relationship with his mother. But the weird Oedipus-y kind of thing. Oedipisal, that's the word. That's how it's it. Oedipisal, I can like see the word, but I didn't know how to pronounce it. The Oedipisal dynamic that he has with his mom is so strange and so like she like supports his worst side, but then also like that whole plot line. I guess if I had one little criticism, maybe we spent a little too much time in like flashback of Oz's childhood in that one particular episode where that backstory was established, but also, we needed that for where the plot went. Like I had that complaint when I watched episode 7, but then I watched episode 8, and episode 8 might be the best episode of the whole show. It ends strong, which is another thing these superhero spin-off shows tend to kind of struggle with. It's ending strong. They always start strong, but then sometimes they struggle to get to that end. This one ends so strong. Like all the setups for future stuff are so good and do not feel like too heavy-handed. The way that the plot points all resolve themselves is really natural and doesn't feel like Oz pulled any writer gotcha like main character syndrome unfair wins. It feels like he earned everything that he got, and yeah, he earned everything that he got, and he earned everything that he lost. Like the last episode was just so immensely satisfying. Really locked in the show as perfection, peak perfection, 10 out of 10. No notes, no scraps. They ate. You are cooked. They cooked here. I'm gonna stop just like saying meme phrases now and end the review. Arrivederci!